We interrupt programming right now with breaking news. I'm Dana Tyler. We're going live now after an LIRR train derailed in Jamaica, Queens, just after 11 a.m. Let's listen in. There was 7 injuries, all considered minor. Right now, MTA LIRR, the MTA chairman, giving an update.
Who responded so effectively today. Train 722, departing Grand Central, headed to Hempstead, derailed at approximately 11:12 a.m. today. We had MTA Long Island Railroad personnel on the scene. Well, first of all, I noted it's an 8-car derailment. Appears to be all 8 cars of the train derailed. Long Island Railroad personnel were on the scene within minutes, coming from both Hillside Maintenance Facility and Jamaica. So from both ends, you had Long Island Railroad personnel on the scene, and they assisted the train crew in dealing with passengers. The commissioner will speak to the injuries, but there were some injuries, some folks who were shaken up, and they were quickly attended to. We had water on the train, and the conditions, obviously the temperature is moderate, and the conditions were maintained pretty good for the passengers while they waited for a rescue train. Approximately 90 minutes later, the rescue train was able to, with the assistance of the FDNY, to take them back to Jamaica, where there were folks on hand from the FDNY team to deal with their conditions. Going forward, right now we have the rec crew, which is responsible for dealing with these types of incidents, is on scene. Work has begun. There are both personnel and equipment from the rec crew responsible for the re-railing process who have begun work. The locomotive that's going to be used in the re-railing process is on scene, and there are going to be impacts to this evening's PM rush hour, and in all likelihood to tomorrow morning's AM morning rush hour as well. Within the hour, the MTA, through all of its, through the Train Time app and all of the website and social media channels that we use, is going to issue an update on the schedule that reflects what we are able to run this evening and tomorrow, and in part for tomorrow morning as well. The restoration process is not merely a matter of re-railing the train. There is damage to the ties and other railroad infrastructure as well that has to be addressed. So we'll have to come back to the public about how long it's going to be until that track and our ability to provide full Long Island Railroad service is back in action. But I just want to close by thanking the FDNY for their tremendous response. The NYPD was on hand as well. The MTA PD is on hand, both to support the dealing with the passengers and also to begin the investigation. The Federal Railroad Administrator, who is the safety regulator, was immediately notified. They have personnel on hand as well. It has been a tremendous team effort to deal with this and to avoid a more serious condition. So with that, let me turn it over to Commissioner Cavanaugh.
Thank you. As the chairman mentioned, the FDNY got a call around 11:31 this afternoon about a train derailment. Units were here in a matter of minutes. This is a complex and dangerous operation, but they were able to get to work quickly. As the chairman mentioned, they were able to get all of the passengers off the train and to another location to be assessed by EMS. In total, we have 13 patients. 9 of those are minor, 2 of them are moderate, and 2 are more serious, but all of them are stable at this time, and all of them are going to be okay. I want to thank Chief Ferrante and Chief Swords and all the members of Fire and EMS who responded so quickly and were able to quickly get patients off the train, including a few with special needs and special situations, and get them in an area where they could be treated safely. Thanks to that quick work, everyone is going to be okay today. Thank you.
Mr. Simon?
Thank you. Like Jano said, within minutes, first let me thank Commissioner Cavanaugh and her team, did an outstanding job. The MTA Police Department, within minutes, were on the scene to assess the situation and help our crews. Our crews acted immediately to protect the customers, do what they needed to do best to secure and make sure they were safe. Now our track department and our rec crew will do what they do best. They will assess the situation. They will get this train and these tracks up and running as fast as possible and as safe as possible. And we will assist in any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on, guys. Let's start over here.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have Miles Miller from Channel 4 with the first question.
I understand the derailment, or what we've learned is derailment happened at the interlocking space. Can you talk about that? And this happened sort of near hillside facility, so just tell us about sort of the mechanics of what you learned about what happened with this derailment.
Well, the investigation is in its early stages, but the derailment did take place in what we call hall interlocking. That's the network of signals and tracks that allow trains to switch tracks and to switch direction. Hall interlocking is the second busiest interlocking in the Long Island Railroad system, after what we call Harold interlocking, close to the tunnels between Manhattan and Queens. So it's an important area, and it's the impact to that infrastructure is now being assessed. Fortunately, we have MTA expertise right nearby at both Hillside and Jamaica. That enables us to do a lot of work quickly.
Mr. Chairman, we have Alfonso Castillo from Newsweek.
Is there any early indication of either any kind of infrastructure failure or any human error that could have contributed to this?
Yeah, as I said, the investigation is in a very early stage. I'll let Rob Free speak to the question more than that.
Just as the chairman mentioned, it's still in its early stages. As the FRA is assisting with the investigation, we can positively determine that speed was not a factor in this. It was operating under the MAS speed, or the maximum allowable speed in the area. But it's still too early to say exactly if there were any type of malfunction and whatnot. We'll have to do downloads of all the equipment, the train equipment, the signal system, all those pieces of the infrastructure. We'll have to analyze and determine what exactly happened.
And what is the maximum allowable speed there?
It's actually a transition point. It goes from 80 to 60 miles an hour, and the train was doing approximately 54 miles an hour in the area.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. We have
And just Alfonso, all that equipment does have downloadable data on it, so that's being analyzed right now as part of this investigation.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we have Carol D'Oria from Sentinel.
Did you hear the question?
I did not hear the question. I
She wanted
apologize.
to know the nature of the injuries, if we knew if they were broken bones.
They were all minor, no broken bones or anything major.
We have a question here from News 12 Long Island. News 12.
When the first responders first arrived, the MTA police, what was the scene that they came upon? Were the riders in a state of panic, or was it more calm? What was the scene when they?
I spoke to the train crew, and what they said was the riders were not in a state of panic, that everybody was pretty calm. Obviously, everybody got shaken up. We're talking about a train that goes from being on the rails to bumping along on the ties for a distance. So people were a tiny bit shaken up. There were the injuries that the commissioner described, but the situation was very calm. I myself went on the train before it went back to Jamaica and spoke to many of the passengers. They were all calm. They were very gracious. There was a woman with a baby on there who was, obviously, a lot of folks are very inconvenienced, but they were in good spirits.
Mr. Chairman, Carol D'Oria has a follow-up question.
Can you say, so it was in the station and it moved forward, how far it had gotten, like a quarter of a mile, or?
I mean, we're talking about half a mile. It's about half a mile east of Jamaica, and almost at the Hillside station, which is a stop on these mainline trains.
Can you give us a better sense of how the train derailed? Is it still? It sounds like it didn't move that far off of the tracks.
Rob, do you want to? Yeah.
It's a mainline move. It was a straight move. It wasn't a diverging route. It didn't operate over any switches, so the train was operating straight. It was going over the last couple switches within the interlocking, so the cars had derailed from obviously the east end as the train continued to traverse. All the cars stayed upright. Some of them are leaning a little bit, but they're all within several feet of the rail. As the chairman had mentioned, there is some significant infrastructure damage in terms of the rail. It buckled, which looks like as a result, but again, it's preliminary. We have to assess all that damage. But initially, it was just a straight move. It wasn't a diverging route. It was just operating straight.
All right, we have a question here from Fox 5, Mr. Portnoy over here.
the injuries, were they grouped together or were they scattered about the train? And was where they were concerned for a reason? I know.
They're in different areas, and some were discovered after the fact. As I mentioned, there were some folks with special needs, young children, that we go to an additional extent to do triage, but none of them are critical. Everybody is fine, and as the chairman mentioned, they were calm when we arrived, and we arrived quickly, so they knew help was there to assist them off the train and treat them for the injuries that they had.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
I would just say to remind folks who are worrying about their own travel, please consult the MTA Train Time website, the MTA website, My MTA, and the social media channels that we all use to have updates on service, so you know how best to get home and hopefully to have travel tomorrow morning. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone. Thank you.
Half a mile east, is that 175th and 3rd?